welcome to Tome of Uselessness. I'm Devin,
I'm Dan.
and today we are talking about the Loki show. But first, did you like anything this week, Dan?
Yeah, I got a couple things I want to talk about. Before I do want to make kind of an amendment, I guess, to something I said last time on our Black Widow episode. We were talking a bit about the box office, and I was talking about how, it was on like the Premier Access as well, and how that may have not have been figured into the box office numbers. Turns out Disney actually did announce, because I guess they wanted to like inflate the, opening weekend numbers, that they were like, oh, it did like 60 million in the on-demand level.
Oh.
So
and how much did it do in theaters?
So it did like opening weekend, it did 90. And so they were like, oh, yeah, it did another 60 to make it look like it, did 150 million over the weekend. But again, that number could be just made up.
Right.
But yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, it was just like, because I was talking how it had made 205 when we had recorded. And I was like, but does that include some of that money? Turns out it did include some of that money.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, I just thought it was kind of interesting. There was a Variety article about it, and it was just funny because theater chain owners were railing against it because they're like, the fact that it's opening on these other mediums is screwing our business. And I was like, I could kind of see it from their point of view. Like, there'll be a balancing act, I think, in the future where it's like, you give them a 2-week window or something like that, and then it goes up on Premier Access and streaming or something,
Yeah, that seems fair. 2 weeks is a good amount of time. Like, if you're going to go see it in theaters, you'll probably go see it in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and most movies these days, in the last, like pre-COVID anyway, as it was like, the opening weekend was kind of where they made the most of their bank anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was just kind of funny, or I was misinformed. I was talking about those numbers.
Well, you're fired.
Wow.
Getting a new co-host.
No, I just thought it was interesting because like this whole everything, how it's all kind of falling down, because it can, of course, they were like, well, piracy was hurting it because it was torrented a bunch because it was digitally available, so it was easy to put up a torrent of it, right?
Yeah.
And all the classic excuses and et cetera, et cetera. But
I feel like that's like the kind of movie you'd want to see in theaters, though.
Yeah, well, and there was also a factor because like they were talking a bit, like we are sort of fortunate being up here in Vancouver where our theaters are open, but in some big cities like LA, there is the Delta variant of COVID is happening right now, and so they were like theaters were shut, and so it was just like, oh. Yeah. So not everything's back up and running. So anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it was just something that was kind of a note that I want to say. But yeah, some stuff I wanted to bring up that I did like was I read a book called Mistborn Secret History. And you've read the Mistborn trilogy, I believe, right? Ages ago, probably.
Mistborn?
Yeah, again by Sanderson.
No, I haven't read anything by Sanderson.
Oh, I thought you read the Mistborn trilogy.
No, you talked about it a bunch, and I was like, yeah, that's good enough for me.
Fair enough. Well, spoilers for the Mistborn trilogy. In book 1, a character dies, and you never really kind of hear from him again. This book actually follows his like kind of spirit after his death.
Ooh.
And kind of hints more to the Brandon Sanderson Cosmere, that he's kind of sort of his stories are connected in some way. So it kind of just highlights like he was working behind the scenes, still trying some stuff to help, even though it didn't really ultimately work or not, or he was still doing some actions in the behind the scenes. Anyway, it was a little short kind of thing. It was just kind of an interesting read to revisit that character.
So could you call it the SLU, the Sanderson Literary Universe, huh?
I mean, like that's basically it. And the term for it is the Cosmere. Like I said, that Edge Dancer book that I read, that was actually also included in an anthology of stories that is Cosmere related.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like his stuff, and there's a character, I think his name is Hoyd, and his character is also named, oh my gosh, what's his name now? It's escaping me. But he shows up in like different stories.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and he's kind of like a wandering, god type where he just shows up and he's like, hey, I'm here just doing some stuff.
Just God stuff. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
he dispenses some folksy wisdom.
Nice.
Yeah. So yes, you're right. He is sort of having this universe is being created as he writes. And then the last thing I want to talk about, something I recently started. I was just kind of browsing through some books, and I found this book called All the Pieces Matter by Jonathan Abrams, and it's a oral history of The Wire, and it was published in 2018. And it's interviews with the actors and the director and the writer and camera people, and just about The Wire, the show. And it's kind of interesting for me because I only finished it last year or the year before, maybe, that I finally finished watching The Wire. So it's all pretty still fresh to me. And yeah, it's just kind of a neat read. I'm enjoying it so far, and I'd recommend it for sure if someone you enjoyed The Wire and kind of want to hear some of the stories about the behind the scenes or about the world. And it's really good, and it's just gives you some perspective from the actors and how the creator, because basically like the two creators, the main two, David Simon, he was a journalist and did Crime Beat for like years. And the other creator, Ed Burns, I believe his name, he was a detective in like homicide.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, so basically it's like them two. And so a lot of the characters in the show are based off of like amalgams of essentially people that he knew and people that he encountered, like Ed Burns in his career. And the story, especially season 1, is very reflective of his frustration that he couldn't go after the kingpins essentially because he was always hobbled by, you got to get the arrests and etc. And he's like, no, these aren't the guys that are causing the problem, right? So,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, which is the main thesis of The Wire. It's about how it's systemically a problem and everything like that. Anyway, cool read, enjoying it so far, and would recommend.
Cool.
Yeah. What about yourself, Devin? You got anything you want to highlight?
Well, here's a little behind the scenes look for our listeners. We actually just recorded the Black Widow episode like 2 days ago.
Shattering the illusion.
I know. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had time because I am in school to do to watch much, but I have started reading Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw, which I am enjoying. I've read one of her other books before, and they're kind of like dark, somewhat magical, but contemporary mystery, young adult fantasy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and I think I've heard the name before. I'm not sure if maybe it was you mentioned when you maybe had previously read something of theirs.
I remember. Let me look up what her other book was called, because I'm pretty sure I mentioned it on the show, but I remember what it was about. I just don't remember the name.
Yeah,
The other one. The other one was about sirens, basically.
So are they more like singular, or is there some kind of like a series?
They're one-off. Well, these two are one-off. There might be, who knows,
Right.
what other ones are. The Wicked Deep is the other one that I read. Good title for a book about sirens.
Yes. That is.
And now I'm reading Winterwood, which takes place in the winter, and it's in modern times, and it's told from the perspective of like a teenage girl who comes from a long history of witches, or what the town at least perceives as witches. It's not like straight up like we're magical. It's kind of like a low-key magic, I guess.
Yeah.
There's like a boys' camp for wayward boys across the lake from her, and 2 boys go missing, and one of them is dead, and she finds the one who didn't die in the woods after being missing for 2 weeks. It's good so far. I like it.
Cool.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I got.
Sure.
Let's talk about Loki.
I was saying plus Loki, of course, which we're going to talk about. Sorry.
Yeah. Before we get going, what did you think of it? Because I've heard mixed reviews online, and I was wondering where you sat on the Loki spectrum.
I mean, I guess I can definitely be accused of being the Marvel fanboy because I enjoyed the heck out of the show. The
Same. I thought it was so good. I didn't know why people didn't like it. I don't
Well, and I was to say
understand.
the only thing I can have a grumble with, essentially, well, not the only thing, but one of the main things I could see is that because this followed both WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, those shows ended. You know
Yeah,
what I
and this
mean?
is gonna have a second season.
Yeah, but it didn't like wrap up its story. It just kind of like was like blammo cliffhanger ending, and I was like, wow, like a show hasn't ended like that, at least that I've watched in a while. Like, so that was kind of jarring.
I mean,
Um,
it was kind of a cliffhanger, but it was also like the main question that they had was answered by the end of season or episode 6.
yeah, no, I won't argue there. Like, yeah, like the main narrative of Sylvie, of course, got to the end and it made perfect sense. But I was also like, wow, like to introduce all this and then just kind of like have it end like that and be, hey, there's gonna be season two. I was just like, wow, haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, overall, I enjoyed the heck out of it, and I've rewatched every episode and still
Oh,
enjoyed them.
I haven't rewatched it yet, but I enjoyed the heck out of it too, and I felt like they ticked every single box. Like the soundtrack was amazing, all the actors were great, the script was great, the concept was great. I loved the aesthetic of the TVA, like that kind of retro futuristic mid-century Americana.
Yeah, and that's very like Umbrella Academy and like John Wick kind of thing as well.
Yeah, it's so like for me, everything was good about it.
Yeah, the only thing I was kind of getting annoyed at, and especially by I think like episode three, I have a note about it, was just that every episode ended on like a hard cliffhanger practically.
Oh, that's true.
And I was kind of like, you don't have to do this. Like, I'm gonna watch your show.
Yeah, we're gonna watch. Don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of, and that, like I said, that's where it threw into episode six as well, where I was like, seriously, you're going cliffhanger here on me?
Did you
But
have any issues with the sound?
no, I didn't have issues with the sound. I don't think. No, thinking
We had
back.
to turn the TV like so. Normally, we watch shows at like 12 to 14 volume level, and I
Sure.
had to turn this up to like 50, and we
Oh, really?
used subtitles in order to hear what people were saying.
I was about to say, it is interesting when I watch things on my, because watch them mostly on my computer, is that on a streaming service, whether it's Netflix, Disney Plus, or I think even Amazon, I do have to crank my base level volume up so that it's like at my normal listening volume. If
Oh,
you,
okay.
so like normally my computer volume's say at half, and I have to crank it to like three quarters speaker power, so then I don't touch my speakers and the sound sounds normal. So
Huh.
it could just be a streaming service thing.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, it could be an issue. I mean, but you didn't have the issue back to our Tenet talk where you could still hear the dialogue over the action, right?
Um, yes, but again, we did have it turned up to 50. Yeah, I guess like the sound wasn't bad in that like it wasn't unbalanced with the soundtrack or the background noise,
Mhm.
but it just like we couldn't hear anything unless it was like turned way up, and then we put subtitles on to make sure we were actually getting what they were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's odd.
That was my only gripe with it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because maybe I'm just deaf.
Well, everyone does have different levels of hearing.
Dan, I'm deaf. Okay. But yeah, you enjoyed it overall? You weren't one of the people that thought it wasn't good?
Apparently, no, like I said, I was into it the whole way, and I was liking the performances, and I was liking, like I said, the aesthetic and production design was quite good. The only thing I was kind of hoping for more, and I think maybe it was even the one of the first pitches, like in their idea, was I was hoping for some more like time hopping and chaotic kind of things, but that's not the way the show went because again, I didn't know what they were gonna do. because it was like he immediately gets arrested and then put into like the TVA system. So we never got to have him doing any more fun stuff like the DB Cooper scene and, just him hopping through some time, right?
Yeah, I would have liked that too.
Yeah.
I guess in Disney's defense, that's what I was expecting. So it was cool that they went in a different route than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Than what I had anticipated.
Sure, but there wasn't even like, episode 1 he like gets away and then he's like, oh, I got my freedom, and he starts to do some stuff and then the TVA show up because they're like, okay, you're out of control here. Right.
Out of control.
Yeah, but it was like immediately.
Yep.
That costs money and etc. and effects but yeah, I was kind of just hoping for a little more of that where he's like, he gets to have a little bit of fun with his freedom first, cause some mischief before he gets just clamped and arrested.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But that was like my own expectations kind of thing. That wasn't the show's fault.
The show's fault. No.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you see on Red Letter Media that like Jay said he watched the first episode and then he turned it off because he didn't like it?
I did see that. Yeah.
Why would he do that? I feel betrayed.
It just wasn't his thing.
It's unacceptable to me.
Yeah. Everyone's got what they like and they don't like.
I guess so. Okay, anyways, let's try to recap the general plot without going too deep into it.
Sure, if you want. Yeah.
So, spoilers.
Definitely.
If you haven't seen it yet and you want to, go watch it right now, and we'll see you again in 6 hours. So it starts in the scene in Endgame when Loki picks up the Tesseract and disappears.
Yeah.
He reappears in a desert somewhere, and the TVA, which stands for the Time Variance
Yep.
Association?
Authority.
Authority, okay.
Yeah.
Show up and they arrest him. They're very powerful because he can't fight them. And they get to the TVA where he figures out that he doesn't have any powers and that magic doesn't work there. And we find that magic doesn't work so hard that there's like a drawer full of infinity stones at one point, which was so cool.
Yeah, it was quite comical.
He gets processed and he's either going to get pruned, which looks like he would die. They kind of just evaporate.
Yeah, they just kind of disintegrate.
But a TVA agent, Owen Wilson, steps in and wants to work with him to help track down a Loki variant.
Yeah, we don't find out that it's a Loki, I think, till the maybe the end or the beginning of the next episode, but he's just kind of like, we need help with this case, blah, blah, blah. This guy could help.
If you're unfamiliar with the term variant, it's there's a sacred timeline, and anytime there's an event that deviates from the sacred timeline that has all of life's events, anything that deviates and creates a branch is usually caused by a variant, and the TVA is there to stop the variants so they can reset that branch and keep the sacred timeline secret.
Yeah, they just kind of delete that timeline because of the event that went weird. And they're just like, oh, and they just capture whoever caused it.
So that there is no multiverse of madness.
Yes. For now.
For now. I'm excited. I didn't realize that came out so soon. It's like next year.
It's always next year.
I want to watch so many movies.
Yeah, pretty much.
We find out that Owen Wilson is hunting a Loki variant. There's been a ton of them. They're rascally little devils that always get in the TVA's way.
Yeah, that's a funny little montage or kind of projected scene of all these Lokis.
Loki and Owen Wilson. What's his name in the show?
Mobius.
Mobius. Okay. Loki and Mobius, well, mostly Loki, figure out basically. I'm glossing over the storyline a bit,
Okay, yes.
but they figure out that the variant is probably hiding in an apocalyptic scenario because it doesn't really matter what they do because the world is going to end in that situation.
Yeah, like their presence won't cause a variance because there's going to be an apocalyptic event.
Yeah. And they test it out in Pompeii, which is a very funny scene
Yeah.
with goats. Okay, so then they figure out the apocalyptic event that the Loki variant is going to be at next through bubblegum. And so they show up there to arrest the Loki, but of course there's a master plan. The Loki tricks them and gets away and sets off a bunch of time bombs or something.
Yeah, basically the Loki has been stealing the time reset device from all of the TVA agents that they've been taking out and set it up for a trap.
Yeah. We also find out that the Loki variant is a lady Loki.
Yeah.
Named Sylvie. She doesn't go by Loki anymore. And
yeah,
the theory is that Sylvie is going to turn into the Enchantress.
Okay.
That's the online, because the Enchantress's name is Sylvie.
Ah. Well, and I was going to say, we get a glimpse of her powers in that she's using more enchanting magic on people rather than like illusion magic like the Lokis we're more familiar with.
Yeah. Because she's the Enchantress.
Wink, wink.
So then Loki follows her, and they end up in a planet that's going to be destroyed, right?
Well, but they end up back at the TVA because she's going to go take out the timekeepers.
Right.
And there's some fighting and some scuffling, and then in that scuffle, they teleport to an apocalypse.
Yes. Which is a planet's going to get blown up or something.
Yeah, the moon's crashing into their planet.
Yes.
It's pretty sick.
It is so pretty. That was what, episode 3, right?
3 is where they end up on Lamentus, yeah.
That is so cool. Everything about it is really cool and pretty.
Mm-hmm.
They dick around on the planet, and their time hopping device is broken. They try to get on a spaceship that's supposed to leave the planet so everybody lives, but it blows up. And then they share an intimate moment that causes huge variations in the sacred timeline.
Yeah, it causes a Nexus event.
A Nexus event, yeah. So Owen Wilson and friends show up and bring them back to the TVA office. Right? I'm not missing a step there.
You are correct. They bring them back and basically arrest them both. They throw Loki in a time loop prison, and Sylvie, they're like, leave her alone. And Renslayer was like, I'll figure it out. But then B-15's like, what did you do? And why do I have these random memories?
Yeah, because she enchants the other one.
Yeah.
Loki's memory prison was cool.
Yes.
I liked that. There is a cameo from Lady Sif from Thor and Thor 2, but not Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Or was she in Thor Ragnarok? Was she one of the ones that got killed right away?
Yeah, I'm thinking because I was like, I know she's in 1 and 2, and then I was trying to remember because all of his companions essentially almost died, and I think except for her because if I recall, she's going to come back in Thor, the next Thor.
Yeah, I think that she wasn't there that day, but the other ones all got killed by Hela when she came through the Rainbow Gate.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Yes.
We're back at the TVA. What happens?
Well, basically,
Take it up.
Mobius goes to Renslayer and he's like, well, shouldn't we investigate this a little further? And she's like, no, it's all good. And he pickpockets or swaps, her temp pad and sees footage of the other agent that was enchanted and saying how they're all variants, because it turns out, like Sylvie's saying, that they're all variants. They were all kidnapped from a life of some sort and then forced to work for the TVA against their will. They end up in the Timekeeper's chamber. With the help of B-15, they fight, and then it turns out when she decapitates one, it's a robot.
Yes.
And then Loki gets pruned, and we're like, oh my god! But then mid-credit sequence, blam, he wakes up.
Mobius also gets pruned.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's like, I just want a jet ski. And then, poof, dead.
Yeah.
Or so we think.
Yes. Because then we get the reveal.
So the reveal is that when people are pruned, they don't actually die. They go to the end of time.
To the restaurant at the end of the universe.
Yes, yes. There is a dangerous cloud monster named Elias who is mad. Loki finds himself with four other Loki variants. One is a child, one is like classic comic book Loki, and one is just referred to as boastful Loki in the subtitles.
And that's actually his actual credit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I took that name from Wikipedia as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then we also have Alligator Loki.
That's right.
The most important one.
Yes.
So they help him. They bring him to their shelter. I don't know if you noticed, but the Thanos copter.
I did notice that. I was like, it's got to make a cameo.
Yep. That was there. That was pretty great. That's from comics.
Yeah.
So they go down to the kids' kingdom, which I thought was really cute because it was like a deranged bowling alley.
Yeah. Well, and I think he was just meant like the kingdom at large was his. Potentially. That's what I kind of was interpreting.
Oh, okay. Maybe I misinterpreted it. But either way,
no,
I liked where they hid.
And yeah, I'm sure you saw the Thor in the jar as well.
Yeah, the Thor in the jar was pretty great.
Yeah.
Basically, Loki's like, I met a lady, Loki. She was so cool, guys. Way cooler than any of us. Because women are just better than men. And he's like, I'm going to do the Lady Loki thing, and I'm going to go kill Elias. Will you come with me? And they're like, fuck no. And so he goes to leave anyways, and then a bunch of other Lokis, including President Loki, show up to take over the bowling alley. Because boastful Loki sold them out.
Yeah.
Because all Lokis will always betray each other forever. And then we had the awesome Loki fight scene, which was so fun.
Yeah, it was very good.
I wish it was 10 times longer.
Yeah, I'm sure that's just getting expensive.
Oh, totally. So Loki, Comic Loki, Kid Loki, and Alligator Loki escape. He gives them another speech or something. Anyways, they decide to help him.
Yeah, classic Loki is like, we'll lead you to him, but then we'll bounce. And he's like, fair enough.
Yeah. Meanwhile, while all this is happening, Sophie and, what's her name? Renslayer?
Oh, you mean the judge?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, it's Sylvie.
Or the judge.
Yeah. No,
what's the judge's name?
It is Renslayer, but sorry, you said Sophie, so I just wasn't sure who you were talking about.
Oh.
There is no Sophie.
Sylvie and Renslayer.
Yeah.
Talking, Sylvie figures out that Renslayer is like fucking with her basically. So she prunes herself and ends up at the void. Elias tries to get her, but she realized that she can enchant Elias a little bit.
Yeah, it's like she almost like uses her magic as a distraction briefly and then gets some flashes and then she escapes.
Yeah, she gets some flashes of what's beyond Elias, and she escapes because Mobius shows up in a pizza car. Do you think when Disney writes stuff, they're like, oh yeah, we'll have Mobius show up in a pizza car, and then artists on Etsy can draw like cartoon versions and sell it as a keychain of Mobius in his pizza car?
I mean, there's obviously probably some cynicism here and there, but I think it's also just like the script probably said he just shows up in a car, and then production design was like, oh, this will be kind of an interesting. We just make it this pizza wacky car or something.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes they feel like stuff is so aligned with making fan art that I'm like, did they just do that on purpose?
Well, it's hard to predict now, especially with the power of the internet and how quickly things can be like memed and, like you said, fan art just crop up like immediately. Like after you see Crocodile or Alligator Loki, literally like that evening, people are like, I drew fan art of it, and you're like, geez.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of furry porn of Alligator Loki that came up that night.
Yeah, fair enough.
I only know that because my brother is a furry artist. I'm not
Yes.
looking it up, guys.
That's where I assumed your knowledge was coming from.
Yes, yes. Okay, so she gets in the car with Mobius. She's like, we gotta enchant Elias, and then I can see what's beyond it, and we can see who's behind this. We can figure
Take him
out
down.
what's that?
Take him down, or take whoever's behind this down, because that's her
Take him
mission.
down.
Take down
Yeah.
the TVA.
And Mobius is like, right on. And then they meet up with Loki and the Lokis.
Yeah.
And they make a plan. Mobius takes what's the time thingy called?
The temp pad.
The temp pad, and goes back to the TVA to fuck shit up. Loki and Sylvie are going to take on Elias, and we are led to believe that Classic Loki, Kid Loki, and Alligator Loki are just going to go home.
Yeah.
They take on Elias. Classic Loki comes to their aid as a distraction, and we see how fucking powerful he is as he builds up cities and stuff.
Yeah, he recreates Asgard.
Yeah. It was a cool scene.
Oh, it was amazing.
And then Loki and Sylvie enchant Elias. Elias, before that, eats Classic Loki. Once Elias is enchanted, they go into the castle, manor
Yeah.
that lies beyond Elias.
Yeah. And lies beyond basically time, practically.
I thought that the design of that manor was really cool, the way they had the gold cracks in it. Like, it reminded me of that, I can't remember what it's called, but that Japanese art form where, like, broken pottery gets fixed with gold.
Yeah, isn't it called like something like Kitseru or something? I don't know. I know what you're talking about, but I probably also don't remember the correct name. I also liked like you said, the design because it was like floating on an asteroid in space kind of thing.
Yeah, that was cool too. It seemed very comic booky.
Yeah.
So they go in, Miss Minutes tempts them with an offer, but they're like, no, we have a plan. And then they meet He Who Remains.
Yeah.
Right? That's his name?
Yes. Credited as that, yeah.
Yeah, some people think that he is, in fact, Kang the Conqueror.
I'm pretty sure that's who it is, yes.
Yeah. But I liked the He Who Remains is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like it when people don't have, like, names. Like, they're just, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
They just have titles, but no names. They try to fight him, realize they can't because he knows what's going to happen up to a certain point. He explains everything. There's a multi-universe war, which he prevented as a science man. And if they don't keep the sacred timeline sacred, then there's going to be a bunch of variations, and it'll be a multiversal war.
Well, and it's not just like he's just talking about himself. He's like, it's multiverse versions of me.
Yeah, that are bad guys.
Yeah.
And so Sylvie and Loki try to decide what to do.
Yeah, because basically he lays out the conundrum. He's like, if you kill me, other versions of myself will come out of the woodwork and start a war, or you both can take over and shepherd the timeline. Because he's like, I'm kind of tired of doing it.
Yeah. Loki's like, maybe we should do that. And Sylvie's like, no, we came here to kill him. And then they kiss. And then she temp pads him away and kills He Who Remains.
Yeah.
Loki ends up in another timeline.
Yeah, it was a well done. It's like it's pretty subtle in that reveal, and I guess because we're kind of getting into the minutia of it, but it's like because there's B-15 and Mobius, and they're talking about stuff and this and that, and then it's just like the tone is slightly different, and then eventually, yeah, when he gets to him, and he's just like, "Well, you're an analyst. Who do you work for, or whatever?" And you're like, "What the? Oh no!"
And he looks up, and instead of the giant statues being of the timekeepers, it's of He Who Remains.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we find out that there will be a season 2.
And
that's the whole show.
Yeah. In a broad stroke.
Yeah, I didn't want to get too much into the like minutia of each episode, but basically that's what happens.
Yeah.
So, did you know that Tom Hiddleston got paid $1 million an episode?
I didn't know until you told me earlier, off mic.
He is the highest paid actor in the MCU.
I mean, good for them.
Oh, totally. He made more money on Endgame. No, yeah, Endgame when he's barely in than like most of than the characters that are actually on screen most of the time.
Right. Yeah, and it's an interesting kind of journey how they came to the show in that like he thought it was over after in Infinity War. He was like, oh yeah, it's like the character arc is complete. He became, not a bad guy and kind of realized, a good place in the universe for himself, and then he dies. They kind of, when he escapes the Tesseract, it was just meant to be like a fun kind of idea, but nothing was supposed to come of it until 2017 when they were kind of like, hey, what about we do something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did. It's such a good show.
Yeah.
I felt like the aesthetic was so atmospheric. Like every location they went felt very like distinct, almost like they were characters in the show. Like if you saw a picture of the TVA and you're familiar with Loki, you would recognize it as a TVA immediately. It didn't look like any other location that they visit, right? Like Lamentus has its own vibe. The Void or the End of Time or whatever you want to call it has its own very specific vibe. Even the manor, like you could see a picture from that and you wouldn't mix it up with any other location in the show.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool.
Yeah, no, and I wanted to just also highlight, of course, I thought Tom Hiddleston was great, and there's some great stuff in like episode 2 where he's like trying to talk his way with the TVA agents, like either talk him out of doing something or talk him into doing something, where it's just classic stuff. And he's able to monologue quite well and deliver all that dialogue. And I really thought Owen Wilson was great.
Oh, he was great.
Yeah, because just like even before he gets pruned, where he's talking with Renslayer, and he's just like, where I'd like to go is wherever I came from, and he's like, I was like, damn, can feel it.
Totally. I felt like Sylvie was pretty great in it too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, she was a fun co-lead or lead as well in the show, and I liked a lot. It kind of reminds me a little bit too of like Black Widow, like talked about, like she is like mission focused all the time, or she's like, we're just doing this thing, and then they have to stop and slow down or whatever, and she's like, especially in episode 5, where she's just saying that, like she's like, I never had friends, all I've had is the revenge mission. Like,
Yeah, she's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is gonna sound weird, but I thought that if they ever made a live action Rescue Rangers, that she would be the perfect gadget. And I mean this as a compliment, but she has gadget face.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what she reminded me of, was Gadget from Rescue Rangers. If you're
Nice.
100 years old, you'll understand what that is.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely Google that.
No, don't Google it.
Oh, okay.
There's so much porn of her.
It, is it not on Disney Plus? I would assume Rescue Rangers would be on Disney Plus.
Oh, I bet it is. Chip and Dale. Yeah, I bet it is.
I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be, but I could also maybe see if it's caught up in some weird rights thing. But uh,
I'm gonna look it up.
okay.
I wonder if it holds up as a great show from the 80s.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sidetracked.
That's all right. Like you said, the Pompeii sequence was pretty fun. Again, this is the kind of stuff I was talking about where it's like, him messing around in time because he's just like, hey, I'm Loki, the god of mischief, and like, you're all gonna die kind of thing. Right. And it was just some of that fun stuff. And I did like in episode 3, which was the beginning, sometimes the Marvel stuff, it tries to be a little more friendly, but there was that good moment where it's Sylvie and Hunter C20, and she's like in the restaurant having margaritas, and they're just kind of laughing, and then there's like that serious tone switch, but it's done like in a good way that it's like you can feel it, and you can, you get that horror thrill where you're just like, whoa, this is suddenly super serious, right?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, and I really like that. And like you said, the two Lokis, or Loki and Sylvie, sorry, they were fun together, lots of charisma and just like a lot of banter because he's again, trying to talk his way and make things happen, and she's just like, shut up, mission focused, right, kind of thing. But
Basically.
yeah, and he's like, well, shouldn't we team up? And she's like, no, I don't want to team up with you. You suck. And then he talks her into like teaming up, and she's like, okay, we're not teamed up, but we're gonna do the same thing or whatever. So yeah, I like that. And then yeah, like you said, that episode 3 with the moon crash with Lamentus, they do that kind of sort of a wonder situation where they're running around, the destruction's all happening around them, and they're going through doorways and things are going topsy turvy.
Yeah, it was so cool, and like vapor wavy and neons.
Mm-hmm.
It was neat.
Here's one thing I don't think we got, and it's hard to maybe understand, or maybe because I don't know if the TVA is from comics or anything, that it's like, how does the organization of the TVA work? Because in the flashback when Sylvie gets arrested, Renslayer is like an agent or a caseworker type, but then in the show, she's like the second in command judge below the timekeepers, or the first in command, I guess. It's like, how did she rise through the ranks? The other people just die, or like, what's the deal there?
I'm gonna say it's a combination of death and just really good performance, maybe.
Yeah, but it's also like when you're the judge type, you're not going out on the missions anymore. You're chilling at the TVA, right?
Yeah, but that's good because then you can. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just like it's an odd thing because it's like Mobius is clearly like below her as an investigator kind of a thing, but it's like I guess because she confers with the robots and then they're like promote that person or whatever, but it's also like, well, how does that work or make sense?
Maybe we need like an orientation video from Miss Minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, which we got a couple, like we got a little bit for Loki, of course, when he's like, "You're a variant. What does that mean?" kind of thing. Right. But then it's also an odd bureaucracy to have because they're just going to prune him to the end of the universe. So it's like, why even bother with the capture and like bring him in front of a judge to be like, "Hey, you're guilty of this," and they're like, "I didn't even do anything." Right? Like,
It might be to decide who becomes agents and who just gets pruned.
all right, yeah, good call, good call.
That's what I would assume.
Yeah. And then, of course, yeah, because like Renslayer just leaves at the end after Miss Minutes just gives her some files. which I assume was at the direction of He Who Remains. So it's like, where did she learn? Where did she go? Guess we'll have to hope for season 2, get some answers there on that.
I wasn't sure if she got files because He Who Remained wanted her to have them. I wasn't sure where that lined up.
Yeah.
Like he might not have. She might have just like this, because it kind of felt like she wanted to go find out who was in charge and fuck them up too.
I think she was just putting on airs to like trick Sylvie or to like play along with Sylvie.
No, I mean, but like afterwards when she's talking to Owen Wilson about it, it felt to me like she wanted to go like just see who was in charge.
Maybe. But then I'm just assuming that like He Who Remains was still, in control of the TVA, and Miss Minutes is his like AI conduit into the thing. And then instead of giving her the files she asked for, he gave her something else because she was like, these aren't the files I wanted. And she's like, hey, you'll like these ones though. I don't know.
Oh, maybe Miss Minutes is like not an AI. Maybe she's like a being.
It's entirely possible.
That would be cool.
I don't know. Like I said, that was an unanswered question that hopefully season 2 they make sure to stick through. I honestly thought that when the 2 Lokis get to the end, that it was going to do the classic, one of them will have to sacrifice themselves to maintain the sacred timeline. Like it was going to be that kind of situation where the person there is like, I'm dying and I can't maintain this anymore. And if I don't, reality will collapse or whatever. So one of them has to sacrifice themselves to maintain the timeline, essentially. That was kind of the direction I thought I was going to go. It didn't, obviously, but I was kind of like, I was primed for that to potentially happen.
Oh, yeah. Nope. Instead, we get a kiss and a shove and a stab.
Yeah. And it is still too bad that we never kind of find out what was Sylvie's Nexus event. Because in the depiction, of course, she's just a little girl chilling in Asgard, and then blammo arrested. And so it's like, what did she even do?
Maybe it was because she was born female. She was the only Lady Loki that any of them had ever heard of.
Yeah, and could be entirely possible.
But yeah, we don't know what it is. This is it. Find out in season 2, maybe.
Well, or potentially not. Yeah, it's just like you said, it could be unanswered, or it could just be as simple as that. Yeah, that she was born as Lady Loki.
Yeah.
Because that scene.
She was playing with those toys wrong.
No. They were supposed to go left.
That was a Doctor Who episode with Donna. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Where she was supposed to turn right and she turned left at the lights, and then her life was completely changed, and there was like the weird face hugger on the back of her head.
Right.
Do you remember that episode?
Vaguely. It's not totally coming to me.
It was a Tennant episode. It was towards the end. Like, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 episodes from like the finale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's important.
No, yeah, I mean, like you said, that's a classic what if situation.
Yep. I don't know what else to talk about, Dan.
Well, I was going to say, you kind of glossed over everything, and then I was like, I'll make sure to come back to that. But now I'm like, what did I want to come back to?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh, well, and like you said, there was that when Loki's talking with the variant Lokis in the bowling alley, and he's explaining everything, and then about Sylvie as well. He's like, have you ever met a woman version of us? And they're like, no. And he's like, she's infuriating, but she's also great.
Yeah, because ladies are better.
Yeah. But like I said, it was just interesting because, of course, this Loki is not the version that died in Ragnarok.
No.
Or not in Ragnarok, in Endgame or Infinity War. You know what I mean? But in episode 1, he gets a reel of his life, and then he sees how his life continued and died at that point, and he was like affected by it, and he was just like, in the time prison and his friendship with Mobius, he didn't become that same Loki, but he was also at the end of the show. And with Sylvie, he's like, I don't want a throne. He's like, I'm not about that. I'm just trying to like complete the mission here, or to uphold the greater good in a sense. And she's kind of like, yeah, but I'm not about that. I'm not you.
Yeah, I'm different.
Yeah,
We're the same, but we're different.
Yeah, and even classic Loki, a good lesson there too, because he's like, yeah, I hid away, and I became stronger and etc. But he's like, I missed family, I missed people, and it was like, you know, it was just everything changed, helped him change to become that. So he was not that same guy, but you could see it in him that you're like, he's not the mischief Loki of Avengers 1 anymore.
I did enjoy that all the Lokis teased him about the glorious purpose.
Yeah.
Like a lot. That was pretty good. Like, where are you going? Are you going to go get your glorious purpose?
Go make it happen, Loki. Yeah, not a huge deal. Again, there was some janky smoke in that one scene where Sylvie's running away from the smoke monster, but it's not a huge deal. The sorcery was really good with classic Loki and Eliath there at that time when they're enchanting it. It all looked great.
Yeah, I felt like the special effects in Loki looked better than the special effects in Black Widow.
Yeah, some of them. I mean, I know you had a problem with the gas.
It looked and felt so out of place because it looked janky, but it also looked like magic in Black Widow that's like supposed to be more grounded. Like no one else is doing magic, but that kind of looked magic.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
It was like a weird genre shift, but not in like a fun way like WandaVision.
Yeah.
Oh, there's this theory. Can I tell you?
Sure.
People are theorizing that the moment when... Okay, so at the end of WandaVision, in the post-credit scenes in the last episode, we see Wanda's in like a shack in the middle of the woods, and it looks like she's drinking coffee on the steps, but that's actually just like a projection. She's in the back reading the Doctor Strange book, and she can hear her kids calling out to her.
Mm-hmm.
And people are theorizing that they're not her kids from this universe, they're her kids from another universe, and that moment takes place after He Who Remains has been stabbed.
Okay, yeah. Well, and then even we talked about it in the WandaVision episode. That's what we were saying, because those kids, they weren't real anyway. She created them.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, how it's like, did she create them by drawing from another universe or from another time source? Or, yeah, like, because she technically just created them. I mean, obviously, you create life, but she created it via magic.
Surprise, Dan.
Yeah.
Power women have.
Yes. No, but you know what I mean. It's like, yeah. So
I'm teasing you.
Yeah, we had theorized that as well. That like, were they an alternate dimension or another universe's Wanda's children and stuff? So.
Yeah. So people are on that theory. They're like, yes.
I could definitely see something along those lines for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that was kind of interesting, and with the whole expansion of everything with Doctor Strange, especially that they're like, oh no, yeah, there's a multiverse and this and that, and then we get this show where it's like, there is a multiverse, but there's a sacred timeline.
Yeah.
So it's just like, there's a difference there where it's like, yeah, we're fine with multiple universes, but there's one timeline that's the good one. Or at least we're keeping our timeline along this path so that we don't get chaotic time war.
But now we get chaotic time war.
Yeah. Well, and I was kind of hoping for a little more as well when Sylvie activates her trap and we can see the time monitor and it's going crazy with all the branches and everything like that. And then she uses it as a distraction to, attack the timekeepers, that we didn't get to see some of those branches like have to be handled. Like they just send people away and then it's not even mentioned again. Like I think, or maybe there might be a line that it's like, you caused a bunch of chaos, but it's like, but you guys wrapped it up in like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, that would have been cool to see more alternate timelines and chaos.
Yeah, because it just seemed like, when you're looking at that monitor, it's just going nuts, and then it's just, no, they wrapped it up. It's good.
I wonder if Love and Thunder, the next Thor movie, is going to have some multiverse stuff in it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know that obviously setting up even with the original Doctor Strange and then to all this stuff that they're showing up the fact that similar to like Guardians of the Galaxy where they're like, okay, cosmic stuff's going to happen. And then Infinity War happened and, Endgame and this, they're like more universes, more timelines. And so they could seed them into the new movies if they need to.
Yeah. I mean, it would explain why there's 3 different Hulks.
Well, and I think, I mean, there's a big push for the Spider-Man to have multiple Spider-Men, a la Spider-Verse.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's coming out this year, isn't it? Spider-Man 3, No Way Home?
Yeah, maybe. We talked about it in
Coming out in
Black Widow.
December. That's exciting.
I don't remember.
Or I'm making it up. Who knows?
Yeah. We went through it in Black Widow, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there more things you want to say about the Loki show here?
No, I mean, I'm really hot right now, but I also, there's like less to say when I really enjoy something.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
I could just go through every aspect and be like, this was cool, and this was cool, and this was great, and this was great. But I don't really have anything, like, meaningful to add to our conversation in terms of, like, things I think they could have done better or things I didn't enjoy, because I honestly just enjoyed the whole show, start to finish, no complaints.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, like I said, some of the things I highlighted that I thought were pretty good, and I think just the story structure was just a little bit annoying in its cliffhangery methods because it was kind of like this seems unnecessary on streaming services these days, especially.
It didn't
But
bother me.
I don't know. Like I said, it started to bother me by episode 3, where I was like, okay, this is just getting ridiculous here. Like, just you can wrap your story up, and then we can, or you don't have to end on a cliffhanger moment like this. It's okay.
That's fair. That's fair. It doesn't have to be John Walker smashing somebody's face in with a shield every single time.
Yeah.
Well, that's such a good scene.
It was. Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess what do you think about the overall? The first 3 shows from Marvel, like that they slated and did. I think because we've done an episode on each of them, and it sounds like, I mean, overall the quality was greater than at least I was anticipating.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with all the shows. I think my order of favorite would go Loki at the best, WandaVision, and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but only because I kind of enjoy the more fantastical elements of the MCU, not because Falcon and the Winter Soldier was bad.
Yeah.
It just was like my least favorite, but that doesn't mean that I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Loki, to me, was the most cohesive. Yeah, I'm gonna say most cohesive. I felt like it felt like the most thought out of the 3 shows. And again, I'm not trying to diminish the other shows. I just think that it was slightly better. But I mean, like, WandaVision was so cool the way they did different TV shows.
Yeah.
Like, different decades. Like, I don't know. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I thought it was really well done.
Really? People didn't like WandaVision? Man,
Yeah,
people
I
are
was
weird.
talking to I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, well, I guess we can't be friends anymore. He turned it off after the first 2 episodes of WandaVision because he was like, it was stupid. It's just like a TV show. Like, oh my God, you've no appreciation for art.
Well, and I think, like I've talked a little bit about, is since doing this show, especially, it starts warping your vision and how you look at things, and it gives me greater appreciation for like the behind the scenes and, like you say, the scripting and the effects and just how things are constructed. I don't know. I start to see more of that stuff, and I start to appreciate things more, even in substandard media, let's say.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because like I don't think I could look at WandaVision and not think it's like a practical masterpiece.
No, I totally agree. It just like, I don't know.
And I think I can
feel
see.
like if you watch the first 2 episodes and you're not so completely and utterly charmed by Elizabeth Olsen's charisma, then you're dead inside. I was gonna say, like, how could you see her face and like not want to just watch more of her face?
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
I know. She's like, but like, there were so many times, I know we're talking about Loki, but there were so many times in WandaVision where, like, she had the subtlest, like, face acting
Mm-hmm.
that, like, I truly believed that she was in love with Paul Bettany.
Sure.
And I don't know. I don't see how you could watch that and not fully appreciate how great it was. And yeah.
Yeah. I was just gonna say I wanted to circle back to what you're saying, that how Loki can felt maybe the most cohesive to you, and I think I could almost see that because the show almost has like no breaks, especially after episode 2. I think I want to say like after the ambush, it's almost like there is no time cut anymore. Like it just keeps going.
Yeah.
Whereas the other shows, like WandaVision, that's part of the point of it, of course, is that it's like an episode ends and then an hour into a new thing and a new thing. And then in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's like, they go from point A to point B and they're investigating and stuff like that. And you're like, well, that takes time. They can't fly from, Hungary to America in a moment. Right. So,
True.
yeah.
I think
But
it's also like I mean, I hate to keep going back to the aesthetic, but like the aesthetic of Loki made it feel very cohesive for me.
right. It's very unique aesthetic.
It's unique and it's, I don't know, cozy.
Yeah, that's
It,
fair.
it it might also be because I just really love mid-century like furniture.
Well, no, I was gonna say, yeah, that's part of it as well. Like the TVA especially has like the low lighting and like the oranges and stuff like that. It's meant to be like a calming place in this weird situation.
Yeah, and like I don't know, the set choices were very cool. I don't know if you noticed, but the doors to the timekeeper were like had like a repeating design of little like hourglasses, like an abstract hourglass.
Yep.
Very cool.
Hmm.
Very well thought out. I was watching it. I'm like, they had to have made that for the show. There's no way that they went to the door store and they're like, oh, cool. This one kind of has like, yeah, that could be an hourglass. Let's pick up that for the show. That didn't happen. They must have like made it special for the show. And I don't know. I guess I appreciate the craftsmanship.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, like production design stuff. Like the more I start, you research and you look into it, it's just yeah, like little decisions like that. It all kind of makes it all cohesive and brings you all into it. And it's someone had to make a door. Like you've watched all the Lord of the Rings stuff on the Weta craftsmanship and everything. It's
Oh
like
yeah,
these guys are making art, and you see it on screen, and it's a costume on the character, but you're just like a dude made that, and it's incredible.
totally.
Or a woman,
And
or
it's
you know
just
what I
like
mean.
it's like you only see it for like 3 seconds, but it's
Yeah,
like burnt
exactly.
into your brain.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like something they had to it was a whole week of someone's work, and then like they set it on fire and it's
Yeah.
gone. Anyway, but like I said, yeah, it just gives me that more appreciation. I don't know for me for the rankings because I was thinking about it as well. And I don't know, I loved WandaVision so much. I think that one would be the top, but it's like so narrow between the two, like all three of them, because I enjoyed these far more than I thought I was going to, especially like I said, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Really, I enjoyed it far more than I thought I was going to going in, and I think I would. Yeah, I think I would eke it. I think I'd probably do maybe the same order, maybe like yeah, like Loki 2, Falcon Winter Soldier 3, but it's like they're so close together for me. I think that like I really liked a lot of yeah, I just liked all three of them a lot, and I mean it's some good viewing if you got some time and you haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, definitely check them out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised with all three. None of them went in the direction that I thought they would go.
Mhm.
All of them were like satisfying and able to stand up on their own. I was kind of like I was excited for the Loki show, but I'm just like Tom Hiddleston is hot, and that was kind of like where my head was.
Mhm.
But the show really ropes you in, and yeah, the cast is great. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to pick for me. Like in specifically, it's hard for me to pick between WandaVision and Loki as well. But again, I just think that the cohesiveness and the care in the aesthetic of Loki bumped it up just a little bit for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
But WandaVision was so great too. Like I'll definitely rewatch all three.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting because WandaVision, it was half an hour esque episodes. These ones were closer to an hour. So, there's just a difference there. You get more time to like be with these characters, live in this world, sort of like at a time. But yeah, I guess we should wrap it up then, rather than keep everyone for too long talking.
Instead of just fanning over MCU.
Yeah.
I love the MCU. They just hit it out of the park every time. It's never going to be bad. Like even my least favorite things from the MCU are still better than most other media that's out there.
Yeah, and like I was saying in the Black Widow episode as well, it's like there is a consistent level, and some dip down, some dip up, or some rise up, and but it's like that level they're at. It's entertaining and they're good fun, good characters. There's some cool stuff going on. There's something for everybody there.
Totally.
I mean, I get that. That's obviously they're designed for general audiences, but I think at this point as well, especially when they started bringing in guys like Taika Waititi and like Jon Favreau in the beginning, it's like they were made by people who wanted to make these projects or have a cool idea, and like the Russos who made the last two Avengers movies and Captain America and stuff like that. Like they knew they had a good idea and Disney let them roll with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to point out that both Loki and Falcon and the Winter Soldier were directed by women.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wanted to bring up her name. Sorry, Kate Herron, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think it's cool that Loki is now canonically in the MCU gender fluid and also bisexual. Not
Sure.
a lot of representation, but it's some.
No, and I was gonna say, of course, like I think when that came out, it's like there was memes and everything. It's like, have you ever read Loki, Norse mythology? Because he was all over it, all over the map.
Oh, I know that, but it's cool that they acknowledge it in the MCU.
Yes, no, absolutely. I'm
because
agreeing
there's been some characters that they've kind of maybe been like, maybe Carol and her best friend are more than friends, but like it's never been like cemented.
Right.
So it's cool to have one queer character.
Fair enough.
You don't want to get too greedy, but one, that's something. That's something. Okay, I'll wrap it up.
It's the incremental progressive there.
If you liked this episode, please rate and review us on whatever. If you think that we are wrong and you hate us, please send us an email at tomeofuselessness@gmail.com. Or if you liked this episode and you want to tell us how lovely you think we are, you can also send us an email at tomeofuselessness@gmail.com. Check out our website, tomeofuselessness.com. Follow us on Instagram, same thing. We hope you have a lovely life.
Yes, thanks for listening and stay safe.
Bye!